When you've attached all the large shapes of your unicorn, it's time to do some detail work and add some finishing touches. The first thing that I like to do is smooth out the clay between my head, neck, and body. So I want this to sort of look like it is all one piece. And I like to use my finger to do this. And if you have more of a hard to reach area, you can also use a tool to kind of smooth these places out. So just keep on working on all sides of your clay project until the pieces are all smooth together. So this is not a race. It might take you just a little while to get it to look like how you want it to look. Now I need to make some of the smaller pieces for my unicorn. So I'm going to start by making some circle shapes for my eyeballs. And I like to do that by taking a tiny piece of clay and I kind of roll it in my fingers or on my mat until it creates a sphere. And I try to make sure that my sphere doesn't have any cracks in it, nice and smooth. And then you can just flatten it with your finger. Not all the way, but just so that it's sort of more of a circle instead of a sphere. And then I do my best to create two that are pretty close to the same size. Now for an ear, I like to take just a little bit more clay, and I'm trying to make a triangle shape. So I'm just working with it, kind of playing with it, pinching it so that it's got 3 sides and 3 corners. And it is a little bit three-dimensional. It's not really like a triangle. It's more shaped kind of like a piece of candy corn, a little bit, is how I like to think of it. And then I can make a second one of those. For the horn, I have to be a little bit careful when I make the horn because if you make it too long and skinny, it's going to break off. So I like to start by making a pretty thick little coil, like so. And then on one side, I'll roll it just a little more so that it gets a little bit pointy. And you can kind of work with it with your fingers too. And then I'm going to flatten the wider side so that I can stick it onto the head a little easier. And if it's a little too long, you can always trim it at the bigger side there so that you don't mess up your nice point that you've created. And of course, make sure it's smoothed out nicely. So there's my horn. It's not super duper pointy or skinny, but I feel good about it being nice and sturdy where it won't break off. Now, when you go to add these pieces on, whenever we are attaching clay, we always have to slip and score. Now, scoring means you take a pointy clay tool, and wherever you want to add a new shape, you're going to tear up the clay. Now, I always need to be careful when I do this because I don't want to tear up a larger area than what your object is going to cover, because then it's going to look messy. So I only want to tear up clay that is smaller than the size of my object. Then I'm going to take the object that I'm attaching and score the back of that. Now I'm going to take just a little bit of water on my finger. I'm not dumping the water on top of my clay project. I'll have a mess. And actually, I always recommend that students take the water away from their clay project when they get it on their finger. And then I'm going to take my wet finger and gently tap it on both of my scored areas. And then I can wiggle them into place like so. Now I'm going to do the same step on my second eye. Now that both of my eyes are slipped and scored on, I have to add my ear. I'm actually going to slip and score my ear onto the hair shape. So I'm going to take my tool, scratch that area, and then scratch the back of my ear, and add a little water far away from my clay project, and wiggle that gently into place. Now, when it comes to attaching your horn, most people like to put the horn right in front of the hair. So you might need to trim your hair back a little bit with your tool if you need to make a little extra space for your horn. Then I'm going to score the area where I want my horn to go. score the bottom wide part of the horn, get a little water, and stick that into place. Now after this, the only other thing that I need to do is add my second ear to the other side of my unicorn, and then my pieces are complete. I'm not going to add any more details to my eyes or my ear because I'm able to paint those details on later. So if there's anything else that you want to do to your unicorn, such as smoothing out any rough areas or adding extra details, those choices will be up to you.